Harry, who's that standing next to the Queen? Is that a servant? That's what Harry wrote in his book Spare. How stupid is this man that he actually believes it? Or is it that he wanted to believe it?
Meghan Markle, as previously having been a quote yacht girl, there have been more revelations going viral from the past. And I want to show you this.
She was a yacht girl. That's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl.
Prince Andrew was arrested 2 days ago.
Britain's former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew.
The reports are that Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested.
His phones have been seized. His computers are being searched. His documents are sitting in an evidence room somewhere in England right now.
Meghan, this is historic. There has not been a crisis like this in 90 years.
And somewhere in Montecito, California, a woman who spent the last 8 years making sure her pre-royal past stayed buried just realized that the one man who could confirm every rumor about her is now sitting across from a detective with absolutely nothing left to lose.
Whoa, okay. The House and Habit bombshell investigation into Meghan Markle is close to dropping.
This isn't about Andrew, not anymore. This is about what Andrew knows about Meghan Markle. And the story starts long before anyone had ever heard of a Duchess of Sussex.
A man called Kevin Blatt. Now, he is a celebrity tape broker, ladies, where he describes a 2018 call from a woman claiming to possess a 4-year-old tape of a Meghan who is about to marry a prince.
Her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince in England.
No.
What?
Yeah, this story's not true, too.
It is true. I believe this is Meghan.
This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend.
And the only times she traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
You already know Andrew was arrested. Every channel has covered that. But here's the part that matters more than the handcuffs. When police execute a search warrant, they don't browse. They take hard drives, laptops, phones, USB sticks, filing cabinets, anything that stores data.
We really never thought we'd see anything like this. There are currently 2 teams of police on the King's estate searching the King's property.
And they took from 2 properties, one in Windsor, one in Norfolk. That means somewhere in an evidence room right now, there are decades of Andrew's private communications, names, numbers, photos, travel records, guest lists, the people he socialized with, the events he attended, the circles he moved in, all of it sitting on a detective's desk waiting to be opened. The arrest itself is a legal matter.
You know, I certainly think, this guy, Andrew, what he's done to this family is absolutely appalling, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Misconduct in public office, confidential documents, all of that will play out in court. But the seizure, that's a different animal entirely, because seized material doesn't come with boundaries. Investigators pull the thread they came for, and everything else attached to it comes out too. Every conversation Andrew ever had about his social life, his associates, his guests, all of it is now accessible. And if your name happens to be somewhere in those files, connected to events you've spent years trying to make disappear, you don't need a lawyer, you need a miracle.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you got her.
Long before Meghan Markle walked down the aisle at Windsor Castle, she lived in a very different world.
She'd been a Deal or No Deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits, it was on her yachting trips.
Hollywood wasn't kind to newcomers, and Meghan knew that better than most. Between small roles on television and red carpet charity appearances, she was building a network, the kind you don't build at auditions. You build it at private dinners, at members-only clubs, and according to persistent reports that have circulated for years, on yachts, not fishing boats.
Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for anything.
The kind of yachts that cost more per weekend than most people earn in a year. The kind anchored off Mediterranean coastlines, filled with billionaires, financiers, and the sort of people who don't appear in any guest list.
And here we have Andrew, with whom looks like Marcus Anderson. This is in 2001, when Meghan Markle would have allegedly been on 3rd year. Meghan Markle hardly spent any time at Northwestern University.
Reports, And I want to be clear, these have never been proven, claim Meghan attended elite yacht gatherings during her pre-royal years, the kind where introductions were made not with business cards, but with favors, where reputations were built not on talent, but on access, and where the lines between networking, socializing, and something else entirely were not always clearly drawn. Now,
many things in Meghan's past, I think, are patchy at best, and she is going to be worried about this because, again, the mainstream media have not reported on the fact Meghan Markle was friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend.
Independent investigators have been tracking this story for the better part of a decade. One insider involved in the research described the situation with a line that's hard to forget. Scorpions don't sleep, they plot sometimes for years. The suggestion that the full picture of Meghan's pre-royal connections has been deliberately assembled over time, piece by piece, waiting for the right moment. And if you're wondering what the right moment looks like, a royal prince sitting in custody with his entire digital life in police hands is a pretty strong candidate.
Jessica Reed Krause writes, I have all the scrubbed info. Soho, Epstein connections, now that is clearly a reference to Soho House. Photos and mistreated staff as meaning anonymous sources detailing what it's like to work for her.
One name that keeps surfacing in these conversations is Ron Burkle, a billionaire investor who was photographed alongside Meghan at the opening of a Soho House location in Istanbul in 2015. Multiple investigators have pointed to that gathering as a crossroads event, a moment where Hollywood networking met a much darker social orbit. Burkle's name has appeared in other investigations too, ones that overlap uncomfortably with the same circles that ultimately brought Andrew down.
Sarah Ferguson attended Tom and Skip's wedding in Jamaica in 2017. Meghan Markle was flown in private plane, allegedly belonging to Ron Burkle. Harry flew economy plus from the United Kingdom to Jamaica. And Fergie, Eugenie, and allegedly Andrew were at that wedding.
One observer noted something peculiar about Burkle. He was always photographed in the same outfit, regardless of the event or the year. The theory? It made it harder to pin down when and where specific photos were taken. Whether that's paranoia or planning depends on how much you trust the people in those rooms. And then there's the question everyone keeps coming back to. How does a working actress on a cable television show in Toronto end up at gatherings where the entry price starts at 7 figures? Connections like that don't happen by accident. They're curated, they're facilitated, and according to one investigator who spent years studying these patterns, Meghan wasn't just attending these events. She was reportedly being introduced to specific people by specific people in a way that suggests the connections were arranged, not accidental.
You know, this is what Meghan has been doing. She's a piece of Klingon, you know, like she clings to somebody who can get her there. So Meghan manages to befriend one person of a very popular group, and then that person introduces her to the others. And that because that she's being brought in by somebody they trust, she's welcomed in.
Whether those introductions were connected to a network that Andrew was part of remains unproven, but the overlap in names, places, and dates is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. But here's the part of this story that doesn't get asked enough. If investigators have been assembling this picture for 8 years, and credible journalists are now openly discussing it on camera, why has no mainstream outlet touched it? There is one person who tried to make this story impossible to ignore. Her name was Virginia Giuffre. She was the woman at the center of the case that forced Andrew into a £12 million settlement. She was taken advantage of as a teenager, exploited by powerful men, and she spent years fighting through the courts to be heard.
The Virginia Giuffre book, Prince Andrew believed it was his birthright to have sex with me. It's a horrible, horrible quote. It shows just how entitled this man really was to these things.
In 2025, at the age of 41, she passed away. After Andrew's arrest, her family, her siblings, released a statement that said their broken hearts had finally been lifted. They said he was never a prince. They said Virginia did this for survivors everywhere. And they thanked the police for proving that no one is above the law, not even royalty.
And then here's the mic drop, Lauren. A picture of Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre, as a much younger woman, with the words, "And maybe it will make sense now," why VG, clearly a reference to Virginia Giuffre, originally wanted Meghan to testify at at her trial.
But here's the detail that mainstream media never followed up on. In December 2021, Virginia Giuffre's attorney David Boies told the Daily Beast that his team was considering deposing Meghan Markle as a witness in the civil case against Andrew. His reasoning was straightforward. Meghan lived in the US, which made jurisdiction simple. She had spent time around Andrew as a family member and may have observed his behavior or heard conversations about it. And Boies believed she could be counted on to tell the truth.
Something that Virginia Giuffre's lawyer, David Boies, had previously gone public to the Daily Beast about. So wow, I have been in contact with Jessica Reed-Krause for some time. I have been waiting for her to drop this investigation so desperately.
He called her a close associate of Andrew, someone who, in his words, was in a position to perhaps have seen what he did. He also considered deposing Fergie and even Prince Charles. Now, Boies was speaking about Meghan as a family witness, someone who married into Andrew's orbit through Harry. The case was settled before any depositions happened. But here's what makes this relevant today. Boies used the phrase close associate about Meghan in a legal context. At the time, nobody questioned what that association looked like before she became a royal. Nobody asked how close that association was or when it started.
Evidently, this is an investigation that has spanned many, many years. She's very detailed and forensic. So I think Meghan Markle will be panicking because at the end of the day, Dan, things don't make sense with Meghan Markle. That's a fact.
The legal team was interested in what Meghan might have known, and that question never got answered. It just disappeared. And the silence around it tells you something. Because when a lawyer for one of the most high-profile cases in modern history publicly names you as a potential witness, and the media doesn't follow up, and your team doesn't respond, and the whole thing just dissolves, that's not normal. In any other case, that would be front page news for a week. For Meghan, it lasted about a day, and then everyone moved on. The question is why?
The Yacht Girl. Oh my God. Ghislaine Maxwell spoke. She said so. Virginia Roberts spoke. They both talked about Meghan Markle, but the world chose to ignore it. And even now, with these pictures out in the public domain, the press still refuses to expose Meghan Markle.
But this is a woman who drops truth bombs and who always keeps the receipts. And for some time, she has been promising major revelations to come on Meghan Markle, on Meghan Markle's past. And what we've seen overnight, Lauren, in a series of Instagram stories which precede what the investigation will reveal is quite something.
The investigation into Meghan's pre-royal connections didn't start with Andrew's arrest. It started roughly 8 years ago, around the time Meghan first entered public life as Harry's partner. Multiple independent researchers and investigators have been quietly building a timeline, cross-referencing travel dates, event attendances, social media posts from accounts that have since been scrubbed, and photographs that circulate in private investigative forums but never seem to make it to print.
Because there have been so many questions about her past for some time, so many suggestions. Was she operating as a yacht girl? How was she making her money? How was she traveling around the world? Maybe we're going to get some of those answers from House and Habit.
One researcher involved in this work described it as the most comprehensive private investigation into a public figure's past that she'd seen in her career. Photos allegedly taken at Soho House events, guest lists from Mediterranean gatherings, and a trail that connects Hollywood networking to something considerably more troubling. The phrase used repeatedly in these circles is yacht girl, a term that refers not just to attending parties on yachts, but to a very specific role within elite social structures, one that involves introductions, access, and sometimes compensation. Now, are these claims proven? No, and I'll say that clearly, but they're also not the ramblings of anonymous accounts anymore.
20 years ago, that woman would not be able to marry a working member of the British royal family. Even though she's an actress, even though she's playing a role, that is just beneath the British royal family.
When people with sources, legal counsel, and professional reputations begin speaking openly about a story they've been building for years, it usually means they believe the moment has arrived when the evidence can't be dismissed anymore. And Andrew's arrest, with everything it's about to drag into the light, may be exactly that moment. Because here's what changed on February the 19th. Before the arrest, Meghan's past was a matter of rumor. After the arrest, it's potentially a matter of evidence. Whatever was on Andrew's devices, whatever names were in his contacts, whatever conversations were stored in his communications, all of that is now in the hands of Thames Valley Police. And while investigators are focused on misconduct in public office, the material they find doesn't come with a filter. Everything that was there is now part of the record.
Prince Harry really seems fired up about is this incident where he allegedly punches Prince Andrew at a family gathering because he overhears something Prince Andrew said behind his back. This is unrelated to Meghan Markle, and I think that I've seen that get mixed up a couple of times.
Yes, it has. That's one of the problems. People
because
confuse the two dates.
There's a pattern with Sarah Ferguson and Meghan Markle that nobody has properly traced, and it tells you more than any single quote ever could.
Everything happened because of Fergie. Meghan Markle was introduced by Sarah Ferguson to Prince Harry.
In 2019, Fergie publicly praised Meghan. She told Vogue Arabia she could relate to her, called her modern and fabulous, and said she'd been in Meghan's shoes herself. That's a woman going on record to align herself with the newest member of the family. But by 2023, something had changed. When The Telegraph asked Fergie directly about Meghan, her answer was strange.
Many people in this world are lost. It's excruciating to live with past mistakes. It is so difficult. I always would like to change so many things in my past, but I can't. I've got to move forward, and it's very difficult to go back over them.
She said, and this is a direct quote, "I don't really know Meghan. I haven't really met her." That's a remarkable thing to say about a woman you personally taught how to curtsy before she met the Queen. Harry confirmed that moment himself in Spare. Fergie came outside at Royal Lodge, demonstrated the curtsy, and Meghan copied it. They were in each other's company. They spoke. They shared a significant moment before one of the most important meetings of Meghan's life. And then, 4 years later, Fergie pretended it barely happened. That shift from "I relate to her" to "I don't really know her" is the part of this story that doesn't get enough attention, because people don't distance themselves from someone for no reason, especially not someone as publicly visible as Meghan Markle.
Her man serves her no purpose. Does that sound familiar? Fergie saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm done. I'm done." Why? Because now she no longer has the use of the title.
Something between 2019 and 2023 made Fergie decide that being associated with Meghan was no longer something she wanted on the record. And now consider where Fergie is today. She's been offered six-figure deals for a tell-all interview. Palace insiders are reportedly terrified she'll go rogue. One source told The Sun there's a danger of her saying things that could cause embarrassment for the king and other members of the family. Her own representatives are desperate to avoid what they're calling another mateless scenario. And a source close to her said plainly, Andrew has had his chances to tell his story. Now it's Fergie's time. So the question is this: when Fergie eventually sits down for that interview and someone asks her about Meghan, is she going to repeat, "I don't really know her"? Or is she going to explain why she stopped saying she did?
Sarah Ferguson is as cunning and as deviant and as skanky as Rachel Meghan Markle. She just was lucky that when she was doing all her skankiness, the internet was not around.
This is the chapter that should keep Meghan Markle awake at night, because Andrew's arrest wasn't just about one set of documents forwarded to one convicted financier. The search warrants covered 2 properties. The seized material reportedly includes devices, hard drives, documents, and personal correspondence spanning decades. Andrew was at the center of a social network that stretched from Buckingham Palace to private islands in the Caribbean. His guest lists, his communications, his travel records, all of it is now evidence. And Andrew himself, he's a man with no title, no home, no protection from the crown, and a charge hanging over him that carries life imprisonment.
This is what we needed, Dan. You know, the news agenda has aged me rapidly. Like, this is what we need to see. We need to see some investigations into Meghan.
His own daughter, Eugenie, has reportedly cut off all contact. His brother won't even call him by his first name in public statements. There is no loyalty left to protect. And when a man like that sits across from a detective, a man who royal biographers have described as someone who always believed the rules didn't apply to him, someone who never once showed remorse for anything, the question isn't whether he'll protect other people's secrets. The question is how fast he'll trade them for a lighter outcome. People close to the investigation have warned that what's been made public so far is only the surface. One biographer who spent years fighting the government just to access Andrew's trade envoy records has said openly that Andrew has never been held accountable for anything in his life, and that this arrest is only the beginning of what will come out.
The privacy laws are pretty strong here, and that's what she used as a weapon at the time. So there were quite a few things about her personal life. I'll work work them into another book, I think.
Oh my goodness, Tom Bauer. I love that deep tease right there. That's something that we can look forward to.
A former member of the royal household put it more bluntly. Andrew has gone rogue, and the worst is still ahead. Meghan spent years telling the world she wasn't protected by the royal institution. She did interview after interview about double standards, about how Andrew was shielded while she was attacked. And she was right about that. But here's the part she never said. The reason she wanted everyone focused on the unfairness was so nobody would ask the obvious follow-up question, which was, why did you need protection from the same story Andrew needed protection from? Different chapters, same book. And that book just got seized by Thames Valley Police. Andrew's phones are in an evidence room. His files are being examined, and 8 years of questions about Meghan's pre-royal past are no longer just rumors floating around the internet. They're potentially sitting inside those files, waiting to be read by people with badges. Fergie tried to warn us. Virginia Giuffre tried to make the world listen. And now, for the first time, the answers aren't in the hands of gossip forums or social media detectives. They're in the hands of investigators with warrants. Whatever Andrew knows, he no longer gets to decide who finds out. What do you think is going to come out next? Tell me in the comments. This is Star Spotlight, where the shine fades and the details tell the truth.